All right, y'all. Let's talk about contentment as a profit entrepreneur. Now, anytime most people talk about the word entrepreneurship, they like to talk about money and sales and projections and the market and fancy logos and slogans and just slang about how much you grind and you put in extra time in your products and services. People who talk about entrepreneurship for real talk about problem solving, meaning that you have to be content working to develop a better solution for the problem in which you're solving abundantly. You'll end up solving, let's say, black people don't know how to earn scholarships to graduate from college, they're free. That's what God called me to solve. That was the first problem He called me to solve as an entrepreneur. I started solving that problem, right? And I realized the real problem is black people don't have hope for college. They don't have a strong desire to go to college, or college is not a generational expectation within the black community. And so I'm talking to a parent who's never been to college, and they're supposed to be helping their child get to college, but the parent really doesn't have an education beyond high school, and they've been serving money for the last almost 18 years trying to make a way for their child to have food, clothing, shelter, and themselves, and they might have multiple children. And so I'm trying to help this parent believe that this child writing essays when maybe the child hates English, and this child finding all these scholarships online and submitting them on time will lead to like $9,000 scholarships, $6,000 scholarships, $2,500 recurring scholarships to pay for an education that costs more than their salary so that the child can move forward in life. So the parents really, really are far behind in their understanding of um, the power of college throughout someone's life journey, and how college is essential as you learn how to live in the world and be not of it. And so what ends up happening is the parent has to love the child deeply enough to encourage the child and support the child on their scholarship journey, but the child is not going to win all the scholarships they need during their high school senior year. And so what ends up happening is a lot of parents just lose like fortitude and strength and diligence and hard work, and they get tired of talking about it with their child, and they end up taking out loans. And so now this parent that's never been to college, that was trying to put their child through college because that's what the guidance counselor said that the child needed to do right after high school, they end up having a bunch of financial debt. And sometimes the children who went off to college after high school, whether they had scholarships or not, never finished school. And lo and behold, these parents have this stigma attached to their mindset that community college, sending my kid to community college because it's more affordable for me and my family, or they'll just apply for that amount of scholarships. They won't apply for the scholarship amount that's necessary for a 4-year school. For instance, community college could cost $11,000. A 4-year school could cost $120,000 because they won't put in the work for the 4-year school, and you have to send them to a 2-year school. The parents think, oh well, that makes me look poor, or makes me look like a bad parent, or makes me look like I can't provide compared to other people. So I'd rather just suffer and try to put them through 4-year school. Now this child has something that if they graduate, their parent doesn't have, and they have a better life than their parent. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the child has an education beyond high school, and they've been exposed to more in the job market. For instance, higher business management positions. They have more understanding of logic and reasoning from a professional perspective. Why don't you treat a customer this way? Why do you treat a customer this way? Versus a parent who doesn't have a lot of exposure to different perspectives on leadership or life management or money management or life planning and time management. They just work the same job as an electrician, or maybe as a banker, or even as a school teacher to pay the bills. And so these parents have very limiting mindsets, where at colleges they have organizations and job fairs, and the professors bring in all these different case studies to help you see problem solving and learning and uh, having a different perspective on life from so many different angles. They do a lot of it through technology, whereas most employees They use the same platforms all the time. And so what oftentimes happens is there's a generational divide where the parents become hyper jealous of their child because their child has this amazing life with luxury apartments and nice cars, and the parents are paying for it because the child has not yet learned how to walk by faith and how to trust God and how to lean out onto their own understanding. And the child becomes kind of haughty and arrogant in spirit, and really, really expects for the parent to always provide and make a way for them. And the household becomes very unbalanced because God is not at the forefront. He's not really included in the conversation. They're dependent on money. And this parent never really gets a break from the financial burden of helping this child become an adult who has the world's version of success at the expense of having a very deep personal relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? So this parent is kind of trying to be God instead of letting the Lord mold and shape their child to become the prophet they're supposed to become. And so I encourage the older generations to avoid serving money for an extensive period of time. Yes, there's grace. Yes, you can repent. But when you do that, you deny your calling as a prophet and you end up living a life of the flesh. And you don't have a strong personal relationship with God. And you raise your children according to fleshly standards, the world standards. You raise them to submit to the teachings of the world and not to the teachings of Christ, or to lean out into their own understanding and to seek the Lord's face and to trust God. And they don't become prophets, they really become people and employees. And so a household input and output is really important. You get what I'm saying? You have to learn how to be content as a profit entrepreneur and realize in my household I'm inputting faith. In my household I'm inputting faithfulness. I'm inputting contentment in a place of development, meaning we understand process and progress and project management. We understand business management. My household is very strong in entrepreneurship and business management, and success not being defined by money or possessions, and success not being defined by um, Forbes and accomplishments and awards. My household really cares about if this fish business is actually serving good fish. And good fish is not defined just by the quality of the fish or the taste of the fish, but it's really defined by the service given to the customer. So hospitality. The fish business might be the focus of the family for 50 years. And no, we might not have like a bunch of flat screen TVs and you can order from DoorDash and all this stuff. But if you come into the establishment, the hospitality and your experience within this fish house will set you apart. Within a seafood restaurant, it sets it apart within the local community. And that's what I inputted into my family prophetically. And it shifted us from thinking about money all the time to really thinking about designing an experience for our customers and our clients that sets us apart. Yes, there's a Hilton. Yes, there's Red Lobster. Yes, there are even more amazing fast food, kind of, well, not fast food, but well-known seafood chains. But our commitment to providing excellent service to our customers, it has nothing to do with money. It sets us apart as entrepreneurs. And we do YouTube and we do conferences and speaking engagements, and we become servants of the Lord who are devoted to helping his people understand that entrepreneurship from the perspective of a prophet has nothing to do with the amount of checks you get, your profit margins, your awards. God's not judging your success by the things of the flesh. He's judging your success by your heart for him and your service before him and towards his people. Like he cares about how you treat the woman with 3 kids who can't afford 4 fish sandwiches, but who really needs 4 fish sandwiches. Like he cares about how many times a month you tell her, I'm gonna spot you or I'm not gonna spot you. And God's judgment is my word says, give to the needy. And then my word also says, the poor will always be among you. But do you help this woman understand that, hey, you have to have faith, and here's income management, and this is why my prices are my prices, and I can't just give you a free fish sandwich. I'm not supposed to just be, I'm not your baby daddy. You get what I'm saying? But do you help this woman to understand that I can be kind to you, but my concern for you, my highest concern for you, is that you learn how to be able to provide for all of your children. And yes, I do want to help you all have food. I know you love my fish restaurant or my fish house, my seafood restaurant, but the way my prices are set up and the income you make on an annual basis, the amount of children you have, you all can't afford to eat here all the time. But I know you personally, and I'm developing a strong prophetic relationship with you. And I want you to be able to have food every day, but you have to work to get to a place where you have the lifestyle for you and your children that you all can afford the fish house on a more consistent basis. And I don't have to be as kind. You're not eating out of my pocket, which is a place where you're supposed to be more considerate towards me. And also, you can be a financial blessing to me as I've been one to you. And you could really, really help my fish house prosper. Because prophetically, if you remember the days in which somebody was kind to you when you didn't have the blessings you have now, you'll have no problem blessing them. That's just the way the Spirit of the Lord works. There was a season when I didn't have the money to pay for each of my children to have a piece of fish. This fish sandwich cost $6 per fish sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Like that's $24 for four fish sandwiches when I can go to the grocery store and maybe get a pack of chicken and some vegetables and stuff for less than that. And everybody can have a piece of chicken or two pieces of chicken if I dice it up and whatever the case is. But my whole point is, yes, my children love the fish, but as an adult, I know this fish is just not a piece of meat or protein that I can provide on a consistent basis for my household. But my children love coming in this restaurant and having this hospitable experience we don't get at McDonald's, or I don't provide at home when I make bologna sandwiches or we eat cereal. So my point is, a prophet can really shape a community's understanding of contentment and faithfulness and spiritual stewardship when they are honest about their process and their journey to solving a problem as an entrepreneur. There are fish restaurants in Philadelphia, but up north, people are not as hospitable when it comes to food service and food provision. There are also resources for poor single mothers up north, but you have to be willing to look beyond Philadelphia. There are a lot of resources for Northeast single mothers who are poor, especially in the DC and the Alexandria, Virginia area, the Baltimore, Maryland area, even on up to Philly and New York. We are right below New York City. Yes, there are a lot of resources, but they just may not be abundant in Philadelphia. You know what I'm saying? So I encourage everybody who's listening to me to understand that if you would grow in your selflessness in 2025, especially with art, and you just let me put out this message, let me create this piece of clothing, let me design this sketch, whatever the case is, God will make room for you to have more dominion and authority amidst his people as a prophet entrepreneur. But if you're going to keep being selfish and being like, well, this is my money and I'm going to Red Lobster, and you never take the time to assess what makes Red Lobster more desirable than Texas Roadhouse, or from a perspective of Black household management, with no man being in the house, no man being in the bloodline, how often can a grandma who's a matriarch and a mama who probably is not doing her profit work really afford Texas Roadhouse or Red Lobster? They can't afford it that often, which means that Black household really never gets exposed to higher class living within their local community. This is a lot of my socioeconomic work throughout my adulthood, because I've done a lot of profit work and profit study in this area. A lot of times when the burden of the household or the bloodline falls on a woman, if she doesn't have the faith, like the woman with one might, if she doesn't have the faith to carry the bloodline closer to God, to a place where the divinity of the prophets that are within her bloodline is more faith based than church based, religious based, or even contentment in poverty, the household is going to be poor in spirit and poor in life management, which means we never had a vision to get beyond where we started from. Okay, be content as a profit entrepreneur and realize your process and your progress is spiritual, it's not fleshly.